So by the turn of the 16th century there was a new king of the battlefield. Gone were the days of the knights swinging their giant members around, as mercenaries, swinging even longer members, took over. The end of the 15th century saw the Swiss absolutely dominate the battlefield with their pike squares, with pikes reaching over 5 metres in length. And like a hedgehog on crack, they would advance on their enemy at immense speed with great bravery, refusing to retreat, often steamrolling through their opponents. Everyone in Europe wanted a piece of that hot Swiss action, hiring them as mercenaries, but they were notoriously expensive and arrogant, leading to many others to try and imitate their success so they didn't have to deal with the Swiss. The Holy Roman Empire came up with Landsknechts, who added their own spice to the Swiss pike square with swordsmen carrying Zweihanders, giant two-handed members which aimed to cleave through an opponent's pike square by getting in close, and they often got double pay because of the risk of it. After getting spanked by the Swiss in 1495, the Spanish also wanted in on this pike action, being lent 2,000 Landsknechts by the Holy Roman Empire to base their new army on, where the Spanish tercios, after a few years, were some of the most effective and fearsome on the battlefield. Because all of this pike action was happening during the Renaissance, whereas scientific thinking inspired by old Greek and Roman works was applied to pretty much everything, they likened these pike squares to the Greek phalanxes of old, and they got really excited and started writing military manuals on how to optimise these murderous pointy squares. While all of this was happening, a new battlefield terror was beginning to enter the fray. The gun. While not as accurate as a bow or crossbow, it was just as deadly, if not more, as it could penetrate the beefiest armours of the time, with it being cheaper to produce and requiring less stamina to use, and easier to carry more ammunition as powder and bullets was lighter than bolts and arrows. The Spanish tercios were the first to utilise guns to the greatest effect in their pike squares after their reforms, with around 20 to 25% of them being gunners, 50% pikes, and the rest swordsmen. The most complex approach for these two units, which pushed tactical discipline to the extreme, was to attach the gunners to the pike square as horns, which are these four squares, or as sleeves, or both, with the sleeves being the lines in front and behind a pike square, where they could fire freely on the battlefield, and if threatened, they could then retreat inside their pike squares. On the battlefield, the scientists had been hard at work to find that arraying these pike squares in checkerboard formation was the optimal approach, as it created firing lanes for your gunners and allowed them to support neighbouring units, which created devastating crossfires. As the century went on, more and more gunners replaced these pikes as they abandoned their aggressive tactics for more defensive ones, and with the ever-improving guns allowed to do their work. The introduction of the bayonet in the 17th century allowed soldiers to have guns which doubled as spears, and with the rise of field artillery, no one wanted to have a pike anymore, as they just stood around being a human bowling pin, as the line infantry began to be adopted as the norm.